What up, nerds? It's me, Chris. A couple weeks ago, I made a little video here in this very room called "The Chord is the Lick," and the purpose was really just to show you that we don't have to redesign the wheel and always be pulling individual notes from the bingo ball machine of our mind. You know, it's just a lot of pressure to compose that way. So I was trying to impress upon you that the chord itself can be great, and you can interact creatively with the chord. And thinking of a 3 or 4 note chord is a bit easier than thinking of 8 notes in succession in one measure. Man. So today I want to continue along those lines, but now raise the stakes contextually, just tip it towards a little bit of music making. I'm of the opinion that most of us in our jazz journey really start like maximally improvising maybe sooner than we should. I mean, you can improvise fully and completely and honestly every day, but that's not really practice. And when we practice, it's okay to be simple, stupid, repetitive, very small. Grandiosity really has not much purpose in the practice room or on stage, really. So today I wanted to work through a very similar concept where we really just use 1, 3, 5, 7s, and we limit how much stuff we actually create. So we're going to be dealing with B-flat concert. In trumpet, it's the people's key of C. I'm thinking about a 2, 5, 1, 6, because I want this to be cyclic and feed back into its beginning. Snake eats its own tail. 2, 5, 1, 6. Do you mind if I talk about it in C? Because I'm going to be in C, even though it's concert B flat. D minor 7, G 7, C major 7, A 7. I'm going one step further, and I'm going to make a slight edit to a few of the chords. It's going to be G7 flat 9 and A7 flat 9. I just want to get a bunch of crunch, maximum crunch out of those moments, and I want to do it not with some like far-flung substitute or some modern invention, you know. A diminished chord is 3 out of 4 notes of a dominant chord, right? So in this experiment with these chord changes that you could see here, the G7 doesn't really need a G in it. Are you going to forget that the note G is helpful? It's called a G chord. I hope you don't forget that. We're going to use the note A flat in its stead, and we're going to still get the sound of G7, the purpose, the roles and responsibilities of G7, but now it's got a little historic crunch that's in all music, definitely all jazz, early jazz. This is older than Bach, using A flat diminished instead of G7 for purposes of arriving at C or C minor. If you called the collection of notes D diminished, great. I capped my range within an octave, so in order to do that, I inverted A flat diminished or G7. So if you call it D diminished, you're correct. If you call it F diminished or B diminished, you're also correct. You can give it any one of those names. Over on the end at A7, you'll notice that the note A I actually left out of the chord because the letter A is staring you in the face. I hope you don't forget about it. And in its stead is a B flat. So if you call that a B flat diminished chord or a C sharp diminished chord or an E diminished chord or a G diminished chord, great. We're going to use that diminished chord there. But that's not the purpose of this video, to talk about diminished and dominant equivalency. The purpose of this video is to use simple 4-note triads to really learn what it sounds like to play a 2-5-1, really learn what it sounds like for a Roman numeral 6 chord to bounce you right back to the beginning of the chord progression. So, DFAC, D minor. I made the crazy decision to play that descending instead of ascending. Let's try it on for size. And just follow me. I'll leave you time to copy me. Great. Maybe the next thing we can do is hold on to our limitations. There's really no Chris improvising here. There's really not like any passing notes or any consecutive neighbors yet. 1, 3, 5, 7s. But let's change the order. Let's behave unto this still photograph a little bit differently. Right? So if I'm improvising anything, it's just with a little bit of rhythm. Let's take away that little bit of rhythm, but replace it with like momentum, inertia, consistency. Let's invert that. 2, 3, Cool? So what I hope for all of us is that this is starting to sound like music, and the exercise itself is kind of feeling inevitable, not really improvised. What we're trying to do is truly command, control, predict, and replicate this kind of stuff. A lot of us overreach right out of the gate, and it's for a very good purpose, very understandable. We're just trying to be creative and do what either the internet or our best buddy or our middle school band director told us we should do. And that's not always what we should do. So it's incumbent upon us to be able to play arpeggios like this just so we know what the notes are. Retrieval. We can play them, actually be able to play them on your instrument, that technique. And lastly, so we can hear them. And then when you do this enough, it becomes more of a flash in an instant pianistic understanding of the chord, a still image, that you make a choice in very small binary decisions, whether to go up, down, left, right, fast, slow, triplet, eighth note, add a note here, take away a note here. So what if I no longer play 4 notes per chord, but just 3? Cool. What if I'm still thinking of the same still image? This image. But the way I'm going to act upon it now is to add a passing note. Instead of and I'll keep the same kind of passing note. So now the bottom region of my arpeggio now has some adjacent neighbors. Cool? It's starting to sound like music. What if I add just a pickup note, a half-step pickup note to the same thing I just did? Make sense? And these kind of little games, they feel like games because there's not much on the line. I can use resources like a piece of paper to stare at the notes and then interact with what I'm staring at. Next move, memorize it. Throw the piece of paper away. Interact in a very cookie cutter way, just up and down like we did today in the video. You do this enough, and I think it bakes into your ear what the skeletal, the scaffolding of the changes, what they should sound like in a simple way. And it gets you interacting with them. And what we're doing is interacting with them in time. And as I spin out and leave the exercise portion and I improvise a little bit more, I promise you that I really feel like I'm still conjuring and thinking and acting upon the original still image. All of the decisions that I made that time when I was more truthfully improvising, they really feel like little pivots, tiny binary red and green lights, maybe up, maybe down, but they all accomplish the same purpose and the same point. They all have the same gravitational kind of cornerstone that all the notes kind of tip in and towards that. I don't know. What do you think?